she looked at me and said, "How are you feeling?" I explained all the symptoms and the signs that I've been having. And she says those are pregnancy symptoms, but then there is no pregnancy that you're carrying. She advised that we do an ultrasound scan. I went into the scan room and the gentleman did the scan and kept saying, like making those expressions of there's something not
Yeah.
not adding up here. He just told me, "Do you know fibroids? Have you ever heard about fibroids?" And yes, I had heard about them, but I didn't know much about them at the time, apart from the street vendors that would always, those herbalists that would sell the herbs for fibroids. They would be singing
Yes,
on the
yes.
streets.
Onyebizimba mu lubuto.
Ebizimba Munabana. This medicine can clear Ebizimba
Yes.
Munabana. So that's the vague
Yeah.
idea that I had in mind, and automatically I knew it's not something good.
Karibu.
No way.
Musibire muta. Mwasibye mutya. Amahoro. Agandi. Bible. Habari gani? Muraho. Sangonini. Kopango. Odeo. For those of you who are wondering what that was, these are some of the various local greetings found in East Africa's diverse languages. Welcome to She Center, the female podcast, where I dive into the issues and experiences that affect women everywhere. I am your host, Resti Kansime, and I am passionate about creating a safe space for women to share their stories and triumphs. I want to thank you for tuning into my podcast, and I would love for you to join our community and stay connected with us beyond this episode. You can find us on Instagram at _She Center _podcast, and follow us on Facebook at the She Center Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and hit that follow and like button on our social media to be part of the conversation. There's a kind of strength that looks fine from the outside, the kind that shows up, smiles, and does the work, while quietly carrying something that no one around you knows about. Many women know that kind of strength, and far too many have had to use it all alone. So, I want to welcome you yet once again to She Center, Season 3, where we are answering the question, why She Center? Why did I start She Center? And this season, we are answering that question, not with statistics or mission statements, but with the real stories of real women. Stories that show you exactly why a platform like this had to exist. And today is going to be the day where we talk more about this, because the guest that I have today is a person who has her community on She Center, and I'm very happy that we get to dive deep into why she started this community. She is someone whose journey to motherhood was anything but straightforward. She is a fertility coach, counselor, a founder, and a woman who turned one of the hardest chapters of her life into a calling. Her name is Judith Akite, founder of Mom's Qavah, fertility consultants, and I cannot wait for you to hear her. So let's get into this. You can connect with her on social media. I'm going to link everything that you need about her below, the community, and on our platform, She Center. So, Judith, welcome to She Center. It's been long overdue. I will say this so that people can hear. Me and Judith, when we got to meet each other, we talked and talked. And at the end, I was like, this would have been a perfect podcast episode, because it was so raw. We were sharing our struggles of founding things, from our pain, from our struggles. And I'm very excited. I hope we can bring that conversation here and invite people onto this sofa so they can be able to hear, because I think I relate with you in so many ways. Our struggles are different, but I relate with the need to, when you've found the answer to something and you're like, I don't want anyone out there to struggle. Here it is. So Judith, welcome. And I would like you to introduce yourself to anybody out there who does not know you and wants to get to know you.
Wow, amazing. You're doing such an amazing work. I'm really
Thank you.
excited. Thank you for the invitation. And like
Yeah.
you said, I pray that the conversation is as raw and real like we had it behind the scenes.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm so happy to be here and I look forward to how this conversation is going to unfold. My name is
Yeah.
Judith Akite and I am a miracle mother. I love to, that's like my first line when I'm told to introduce myself. I'm
Yeah.
a miracle mother for so many reasons, and
Mm,
I am a founder of Mom's Cover, which was actually birthed from my journey of infertility. And Mom's
mhm,
Cover, in simple terms or in a layman's language, means moms in waiting. I remember
mhm,
I contacted a friend when I was coming up with a name because the name just came to me so clear, Moms in
mhm,
Waiting. But
mhm,
then a friend who was in business earlier than me told me, you need to make it a little interesting, intriguing, that when someone reads it, they want to
mhm.
find out what is this? What do they do? And
Yeah.
so we just had to translate waiting into Hebrew.
Ah.
So Qavah
Oh,
is a
nice.
Hebrew word that means waiting in anticipation for God to act. And it felt
Mm-hmm.
so perfect. So that's
Yeah.
how the name Mom's Cover came into play. I'm
Wow.
also a personal growth trainer and facilitator. I'm a Beyond Success facilitator. It's a free
Mm-hmm.
course by John C. Maxwell. I am
Mm-hmm.
also very big on mental health. I'm a mental health advocate and counselor. I also
Mm-hmm.
support with fertility coaching and counseling for different individuals who are walking the journey to parenthood, especially those who are struggling to conceive.
Mm-hmm.
I support a number of hospitals. I may not mention them, but
Mm-hmm.
there's one in Kenya and there's one in Uganda here that I'm working closely with, supporting their couples through counseling. And it's a very pivotal and very important part of this journey that many hospitals would neglect, and they still do neglect that. It's very,
True.
very key. So,
Mm,
in a nutshell, that is Judith. I would also love to mention that because of my journey
mm,
transitioning from career to calling, I was
mm.
challenged to grow my public speaking, communication, and leadership skills. So
Yeah.
I signed up at Toastmasters, Bokoto Toastmasters Club, where I've grown through the ranks, and I am currently the serving president. I would love to.
Whoa.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
super
So
nice. Yeah.
briefly, that is Judith.
Yeah, I like that. There's so many to break down because I do believe I feel like at She's Center, it's holistic support. There's so many things that you've mentioned that make you who you are. Like if I come to the end of what you said, the Toastmaster, I'm a person who like if I'm talking to you like right now, I would talk and be confidently talking. But let me get a microphone with an intention of people want to hear. Like sometimes I'm talking like in a real and I'm like, where are all these words that I've been telling people on the side and in meetings, in personal conversations, communicate public speaking sounds like an easy thing when you look at someone. People can judge you on social media, no, you're not doing this, but it's like it requires a specific art that you need to practice. So when I was at the university here in Germany, I heard about this Toastmasters thing. I actually didn't even know they had one in Uganda. I know it's an international thing, but I'd never heard of one in Uganda, which is something that someone who is listening could be able to consider if they want to get into public speaking. I remember going to one of them, and I don't even think I even got the guts to go there and talk. I only went once because it was such a long distance. It was like a 30 minutes journey, and the trains got cancelled. So I said, you know what? I don't think it's worth it. But at the end of the day, I was really challenged because everyone was sharing about how they joined because they struggle with this, they struggle with this. And I realized that if you want to communicate, like even if you want to be a leader, you want to you want to communicate in this social media era, like you can't run a business if you're not
You can.
confident enough to put your face out there because people are really tired of just ads and ads. They want to know who is behind this, what's your story, and you have to find a way. And I'm learning there's hooks, there's certain ways how you need to communicate. And sometimes, like, guys, please, I just want to tell you my journey. Do I have to make it exciting? Say it in 3 seconds, 5 seconds? I'm like, I want to talk for 1 hour. So it's something that I really like that you said that I want to dive deep into what life was like before you started this, because someone might just think, okay, Judith has just always been this girl who is going at it. What was life before this? How did this journey start for you? The journey of you walking, I believe, in purpose, because you look like this is something that you're doing because it's purposeful. What was life like before this journey for you?
Life before this journey was me living, living through the phases of life. I went to school and did university, got a job, and now you're into the job market and you're growing through the ranks in your workspace until a certain point, which I think I mentioned in a blog post. That was in 2020.
Oh,
I think
that's young.
2020 will never leave
That's
our
young.
mind. Everybody has a story to tell
I
about
think
it.
everyone started like something, like everyone got an awakening in
Oh
2020.
my goodness.
Yeah.
It started way back, but like the real, how should I call it? The moment, the awakening moment was in 2020. And I
Yeah.
remember it was around the time when the country was under a complete lockdown, but I was an essential worker at the time. I was working with a bank and we were still working. But then at work, they needed to reduce the number of staff because of the distance and all the COPs. They reduced the number of staff and I had to go on leave. It was more like a forced leave because you're
Yeah.
not intentionally requesting for the leave, but the circumstances could not allow for us to all be at work. I took
Yeah.
2 weeks leave, and during these 2 weeks leave, I was excited. This is the moment you've been looking forward to. You're going to sleep, eat, wake up, sleep, eat. No stress of waking up early, no alarm clocks, just
Yeah.
sleep and rest and have it easy. But towards the end of the 2 weeks, I had been feeling pain earlier, but I kept brushing it off as fatigue. Maybe I'm just stressed from work. The pain just continued. It kept escalating and it reached a point where I could no longer like sit upright. I had to like bend a little or lie down on the floor, on the couch. And then I could not like get up straight because the back would really hurt so bad. And in a moment, I thought, why is like my body crashing all at once? Like, how did I not see myself getting to this point? So again, I just brushed it off as pain, maybe fatigue. Later, I had to report back to work. And when I got back to work, everybody was excited. Everyone was telling I had gained so much weight. In the 2 weeks, I gained 10 kgs. I used to be so tiny. I was
Wow.
about 52 kgs when I left work, and when I returned, I was
2
62, or
weeks.
even more. Because I remember the time I went to hospital, I was about 62 kgs. 2 weeks, imagine, it's like as if I was gaining 1 kilo each day.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a bit scary, but it didn't scare me at first because I was always tiny. I was happy. Finally, I have some flesh on my body now.
Yeah.
Now the nyash is there. At least
Yeah.
now I'm looking womanly. I was happy
Mm,
about it. Unknown to
mm,
me was that it was going to be detrimental. Like I shared that when I went back to work, everyone was excited. Everyone was congratulating me, COVID baby. We are ready to buy Pampers. Everyone,
what?
including the clients that I was serving.
Mm,
But one comment made me look at it a different way, and that was my manager at the time. He said, Judith, you don't look fine. Like there's something off about you. I don't know if what people are celebrating is true, but you don't look fine. Now, in me, I knew during the lockdown, my partner was around, but I had tested for pregnancy and it was negative. So even when these people were congratulating me, I already knew it's not a pregnancy. Maybe it's something else. But later, I remember that day I went to the cleaner at the bank and I just told her to come with me to the washroom. When we went, I opened my belly up and showed her, and she was like, she confirmed, she confirmed you are pregnant. Maybe you did the strip test. Now you need to do the blood
Yeah.
test to confirm
Yeah.
that you're pregnant.
Mm.
But I was quite sure I'm not pregnant because we had done several tests and all of them came out negative. When she told me that my belly had grown big, like almost 5 to 6 months pregnancy, that's how big it was looking.
What?
I think that is what worried my manager when he saw that
Yeah.
the big
Within
stomach,
two
because
weeks.
it couldn't be that you left this
How
time
big was the
and in
stomach
2 weeks
that you
now you're
left?
looking 6 months pregnant. What is
After
that?
2 weeks. Wow.
What is that? So the
Maybe
cleaner
they
called
thought it
me.
was COVID. It's like these kids are growing fast in the tummy.
Telling you, I'm telling you, maybe the vaccine, whatever it was. So the
Yeah.
cleaner told me, you are clearly pregnant. See in your tummy, because I had the black line cross across from the rib up to the pubic area, like clear black line, big. You could clearly see it. And that evening, I remember when I was going back home, I branched near. There was a nearby medical center that I knew was good, at least from the way it looked and the way things were done there. I branched off and went there for a test. Even them, when they saw me, the first thing they asked for was urine sample, blood sample, and they did all these tests. Now, when the tests came back, they were all negative. And then I remember the doctor, she was female. She looked at me and said, how are you feeling? I explained all the symptoms and the signs that I've been having. And she says those are pregnancy symptoms, but then there is no pregnancy that you're carrying. She advised that we do an ultrasound scan. I went into the scan room and the gentleman did the scan and kept saying, like making those expressions of there's something not
Yeah.
not adding up here. So after he was done with the scan, I asked him, what is it? He just told me, do you know fibroids? Have you ever heard about fibroids? And yes, I had heard about them, but I didn't know much about them at the time, apart from the street vendors that would always, those herbalists that would sell the herbs for fibroids. They would be singing
Yes,
on the
yes.
streets.
My name is Eva Murubuto.
Elzimba Mnavana. This medicine can clear Elzimba
Yes.
Mnavana. So that's the vague
Yeah.
idea that I had in mind, and automatically I knew it's not something good. By the time those herbalists are singing about it, it
Selling.
means
Yes,
it can
yes.
be really something bad. So he didn't tell me much. That's all he told me. And then he told me you should consider having children. So I walked down to the doctor with the results for her to explain to me. And she looked at them. She didn't do much. All she told me is, we are going to give you some painkillers. And then when you are done with the painkillers, the pain should leave. Like you will not feel any more pain. She did not tell me how many fibroids were there. She did not tell me how bad these fibroids could be or the locations that they were in, how deadly they were. And I remember something in me was not settled. I was just sad. I started crying immediately I got the results. I didn't know why I was feeling like that, but my instinct was telling me this is bad. It's worse than it's presenting right now. And she told me, but there are so many women that give birth with fibroids. So fibroids is not an issue. Like in fact, every woman has fibroids. It's just that some women have smaller fibroids that don't affect their reproductive health, but then other women have bigger ones that affect their reproductive health. I felt like that was not explanation enough for me to
Because not
take
every
in the
woman is having a
pain.
big stomach.
Yes, because even the pain was there, the abdominal
Yes.
pain, the back pain, your feet are filling up, like you're having constant headache, you're dizzy. It wasn't an explanation that convinced me. So I remember walking back home, that back then there was no boda, no taxi. I had to
Yeah.
just walk because the bank vehicle dropped me at the hospital. So I had to walk back home. That's why I made
Yeah.
sure I got a medical center nearby.
Yeah. Home. Yeah.
I walked back crying the entire time.
Mm.
I reached home. I could not understand it. And the worst thing I did was go on Google and
Oh,
YouTube to try and understand what is fibroid. Oh,
the
rest.
horror.
I
The
feel chills
horror.
already talking about this. I cannot tell you how stressed I was
Yeah.
because
Mm.
when I went on Google, it immediately brought me videos on YouTube. So I clicked, I watched the first, the second, the third. Like I just kept watching, just
Yeah.
trying to
You
gather
instinctively try to
information
find. Yeah.
on what
Mm.
exactly I'm going through. And
Mm.
it was scary. Like I was seeing only the worst case scenarios of they
Yeah.
have removed somebody's uterus. They have
Mm.
removed the
You will
ovaries
never have
are
kids. You're going to, people, man, I know I mean, internet is not our friend sometimes.
can be it can just worsen the situation. So
Mm.
that was how it played out.
Mm.
But then later in the night, that was in the evening when I watched the videos, I think I reached a point and I was just tired. I was a little calmer, and that's when I decided to call one of my sisters and tell her what they have told me and what I've been going through. She immediately told me it's okay, you don't have to worry. Maybe it's even a wrong diagnosis. Who knows?
Mm. Of
Now when she
course.
said maybe
Must
it's
be
even a
carried.
wrong diagnosis, now
Yeah.
me the scare I got in the moment was I hope I don't have a cancerous tumor.
Mm. Mm.
Now so many things started running into my mind. She told me we need to visit other facilities, like at least 2 or 3, so that we
Mm.
can see. We don't tell them the
Wow.
story, reach there
Mm.
and start
Yeah.
afresh, so that
Confirm.
you
Yeah.
see if the results are similar or same.
Mm. Mm.
Rest, we did the visits. The first
The
facility
ones.
we went to, they did the scans and told me I had 8 fibroids. And the next one we did, they told me I had 9. Like the number just kept fluctuating, you know.
Mm.
And now the facility where I decided to have my treatment and surgery done is where they explained to me what exactly the problem was. And
Mm.
sometimes that is what we are looking out for. That's
Mm.
why people keep switching hospitals, because you don't feel like they're answering your question.
Mm.
So this one particular facility, when I went there and explained, they did the test. They sent me to an imaging center in Kampala to do a tubal scan. We did that. And then I went back with the results. Now they sat me down and explained to me. You know how
Mm.
they put the scan on a screen and they start showing you one by one, this is what is happening, this is how big it is,
Mm.
this is
Mm. Mm.
located here, and this is how bad it can
That
be
make you
for your
feel a little
uterus.
bit better? Did that make you feel a bit better and more understood?
Yes, yes.
Mm.
I was
Mm.
like, finally, I am
Mm.
getting the answers to my questions without
Yeah.
having to Google and see all these scary things.
Mm. Mm.
So that doctor explained clearly, and I was able to understand. And he
Mm.
told me, your case is actually an emergency. Mhm. So you've been walking around as an emergency patient without knowing it. If you had taken longer, this would have been deadly for
Worse.
you. It could have
Yeah.
costed you your uterus, or we don't know what would have happened to your reproductive system. So he encouraged that I take time and think about it within a period not longer than 2 weeks, because I had just finished my cycle and they had to count days for that for that operation to happen. So when they counted the days, it wasn't allowing me to wait a month or 2 months. And the pain was too much for me to bear. So I had to make the hard decision. He then went ahead and explained to me the options that were available. There was the open cut that would take longer to heal. Then there was the laparoscopy that would take shorter time to heal. And I opted for the laparoscopy. And the one thing that made it an emergency is the doctor told me that the biggest fibroid was seated right in the endometrium. And that's the point where the baby implant. So the reason I was having all these pregnancy signs is the body had perceived a pregnancy. Like there was a growing, I don't know how to mass inside the uterus. So somehow the body perceived a pregnancy. That's why I had all these pregnancy signs. And then they told me it was as big as a fist if you combine the two, the one that was inside, and then the ones that were in the outer layer were also many, but they were not as big. So I agreed, and they did the surgery and removed the fibroids.
All
I
of
thought
them, yeah?
that was it. When they removed the fibroids, I had to go on sick leave. I was on sick leave for about 2 months, 2.5 months. And I thought, now this is it. Finally, the pain is gone. No more struggling. My periods will regularize. But alas, that was just the beginning of the journey I was about to walk, or that I had started walking to parenthood, to motherhood.
Um, as you're speaking, I'm even thinking today morning, there's
Hmm.
this podcast I listened to called, I rarely listen to it, but I followed it because I saw a clip on social media. It's by this lady, she's Priscilla Shah's sister. It's called Sister Circle. And
Hmm.
today, like when I finished listening to the podcast, I was listening to the episode of Joyce Meyer, it automatically started playing. And they were talking about fibroids. When you sent me your blog post, I did not read your blog post yet because I was like, I need the time. So I kind of like wanted us, like, I didn't want to be too informed about the whole journey. When I listened to that episode, I haven't yet finished it, but I was like, this is interesting because the lady who was sharing about this shared about how she has a miracle baby. Like the doctors, everybody told her, woman, literally, you're going to die in like 72 hours if you don't remove this baby. The woman said, her sister told her that she dreamt or she had like a vision when she had her baby and that the pregnancy went well. So she said, I'm just holding on to that one. Don't do anything. And the doctor said, okay, like hold all of them, explain to her how the child would have complications, how all these problems are going to happen to this child. And she said, I'm standing still. And now she's also a coach like you. She started this organization, and the things that she was sharing about, which I would like us to talk about, because there is knowing someone's journey and saying, oh no, for me my tummy never got swollen like that, me, I've never had those experiences. But from what you have talked about, I even put all my questions on the side because I feel like this requires like a raw conversation.
Hmm.
I have friends, two friends so far. One of them underwent an operation and she managed to conceive and she
Hmm.
had her baby. There's another one, circumstances are not allowing her to have a baby because she's not yet like trying, but
Hmm.
this is what every doctor keeps telling her, and this put her under so much pressure. And I'm hearing so many stories of people, and in many cases when this woman was explaining that it comes from your body, like your body has been telling you all these things from when you were in your 20s, but you're just not listening, and the doctors are ignoring it. And I kept thinking of, at school there are these girls who would have painful periods, And
Mm.
I had a friend, her pain was so much. I also started to feel pain every time I was in my period. When she was explaining, oh, like, cause this lady asked her in the episode, like, what are some of the things that happened before you got to the point where you were at? So maybe you can tell us because of your experience, because I would like whoever is listening to this episode to be able to understand, I am going through it right now. This might be a source of concern. Let me not wait until I'm in my 30s or until at a certain time. And also from your experience, what are some, because we might get a doctor one day, but here we are. Sometimes doctors explain it not from personal experience, like they're just explaining it from a medical experience, and it doesn't really come off like the best thing. They have met, you're just a specimen to them. They have met thousands, like the one who talked to you. Yeah, you're not the only one. I am your, like, that thing annoys me so much. Like, I am here right now. Can you look at my case as me and not tell me how hundreds of people go through this? Because I am going through it. I am scared. I'm in pain. I am like, this is affecting every aspect of my life. Can you not just stop treating me like 100 patients that you have? I think that's also another reason why people don't listen to doctors. They would rather listen to influencers, because influencers tell you it's going to be hard, but here is how you can fix it. So please, help us explain, if from your experience right now, what are some of those signs that happened to you when you were younger that could have been a starting point for any medical practitioner or any parent of yours? It might even be a parent to say, okay, there is something off here. And how could they have intervened in that time?
That's such a beautiful question, and I'm looking forward to it because the gist is there.
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned what that lady shared from her experience. 20 years, it goes as far back as the time you actually started your period. Many of us, at the point when we start our periods, we don't know much. I remember back in school, primary, there were these, I don't know if they were senior women that would come and train us how to put a pad on a knicker, how how the cycle should last 21 days, 28 days, and I think the worst case scenario was 35 days. So we had this information, but
Did you
then
question it? Because I even don't remember most of that stuff.
like, I remember because I had to dial back in those memories and try to
Ah,
find,
okay, okay.
like,
Yeah, you had to tap them back into it.
yes, I
Okay,
had to
okay.
travel back in time and find where this all started.
Yeah.
But it was when I started my periods. I wrote in the write up. I shared bits of that. I started my periods when I was around 12 years. That was in P6, P6, yeah,
P7, P6, yeah.
that was either P6 or P7 when I started the period. But the period came, and then I never saw it again until I joined senior one.
And they say that's normal, right? Because I know that happens to quite a number.
Yes. From the
Yeah.
explanations we were given during that education moment, they told us it's normal because your body is still adjusting. So it wasn't scary. And at that point, really, as a child, what do you want a period for? So it wasn't scary. But the one thing I remember is the pain I felt when the period came. And the blood that came were clots, like blood clots. So at that point, you're young, you don't know if this is how it's supposed to look, or even when you're weak and feeling pain, your peers are not understanding why you're in pain. When you ask the elders around, they tell you every girl that is adolescent has to go through this, every woman goes through this, it's a normal thing. So the pain became normal. And then I went into secondary, and I remember this one particular day very vividly. We were going back to school as with my sister and my dad. He was driving us to school. So he stopped by some restaurant for us to have like a goodbye meal before you head to school.
Boarding, yeah?
Stood up. I stood up to walk to wash my hands, and he saw the stain on my uniform. Now, I was seated, I was feeling pain, but it didn't feel like I was having a period.
That
I
was the
just,
first time it came back, right?
yes, it didn't feel
Mm,
like I was having a period. So it just felt like abdominal pain. I didn't quite understand why it was happening because I wasn't expecting it anyway. So when he saw the stain, he called my sister and they opened my suitcase. I had more than one uniform and I went and cleaned up and put on another uniform.
mm.
And I think that's the point for him now. He thought, oh, my daughter has started period.
Kumbe.
Kumbe, and disappeared. So that that was the time. Now it kind of started being a bit
Regular.
regular. It would
It
come
wasn't
like,
still regular.
yeah, it would come in a month, then you skip like 2 months, then it comes, but it wasn't as bad as waiting an entire year or
Yeah.
6 months. It would skip like 2 months, then you get a period, then it goes back to three, then one. It was just confusing. So I would really never know when I'm going to have a period. The best I could do is always have a pad
Pardon
and
you.
tissue in my bag. So just in case it starts, I can clean up and see how to sort the mess. It became normal for me through high school. Then now I went to campus. Now you are getting exposed to information that you didn't have before. Uh,
Yeah.
your peers are telling you experiences that you've never had before, and now you're thinking, oh, so this is not just me going through pain. There are other people
Mm,
actually who are experiencing pain, because the
yeah.
pain would be so bad that you actually feel sick. You're feverish, you're vomiting, you can't
Yeah.
sleep. It was just that bad.
Guys, that
It
is
was
not
really,
normal. That's
it
not
was
a normal period,
the first
apparently.
2 days. The first
Yeah.
2 days were terrible because the bleeding would last for like a week
Mm,
or minimum 5 days.
mm.
And you're losing blood every day. Remember, this is a heavy flow. Like you're buying maxi pads, not these little thin layered pads.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
even the maxi pad in like a few hours, you feel like it's full. You need to change. That was scary, but every time I asked for help, they told me it's normal. Every woman goes through it, every girl experiences this. It will go, the pain will go as you grow older, the pain will disappear.
Yeah, the
So
people who are explaining don't even know anything. Even them, they have just heard it from someone else.
that
Man,
was the
we've grown up as
consolation
early
I
children,
had. The consolation I had was, after all, I'm growing each year. The pain will go.
but
But
it wasn't
the
going,
the
right?
pain, the pain, it's as if every year you increase, the pain
You
also just
also.
got more and more and worse.
Yeah.
Much later at campus, I think that was during around third year when now I had become free with my roommate. She sees me this one day because I used not to attend lectures the first 2 days of my cycle. It would be bad. I couldn't sit straight, like you would just be uncomfortable around people. So to avoid people asking so many questions, I would stay in hostel and I would attend when I feel much better. I remember this one afternoon she came back and I got out of bed. I was resting. When I got out of bed and stood, blood just oozed out. Like I was wearing a pad. But I think the blood flow was just too heavy. It just got through my thighs until the floor. And she had never seen that. She didn't know what to do for me. But I remember her, after we had cleaned up the mess, she was like, Madam, you must be very fertile.
Those are twins. Triplets.
You must be very fertile because what is this? Like people bleed all this blood in 2 days or 3 days of their cycle. You, it's just an afternoon that all this blood is going out. And we joked about it and laughed about it, but the pain was always there. Now, fast forward when I started working, same story. Like when the period comes, it's painful. Now I had the opportunity because I was working, I have money, I have insurance. I would always go. to the hospitals to seek help. And they would give you painkiller shots, the painkiller tabs, and still they would tell you the same thing you've been hearing over and over again. When you get older, this pain will go. When you give birth, it will actually like completely go. What a myth. They told us that when you give birth, that pain disappears completely. Now you keep hanging on to that little hope that you have that the pain will go. It's until 2020 that I realized, oh my goodness,
It's
like
never
this
going
has
to go
not
anywhere.
started now. This
The pain
started,
is just starting.
it
Yeah.
started a long while ago. It's just that I wasn't informed and I didn't get the right help that I got to this state. So looking back, when you say that secondary schools need to find a way of informing children,
Sensitizing.
especially
Yes.
even
Yes.
boy child by now. It's interesting.
Mhm.
It's
Mm.
interesting that even boy child experience some of the things that can affect their fertility. I remember
Mm.
hosting one of a fertility specialists in last year's Mom's Qavah Summit, Fertility Awareness Summit, and she shared a very devastating story of how a boy was playing football. A young boy, a teenager, was playing football, and then they kicked the ball and the ball hit so hard on his private part.
Mm.
And because he was scared of telling the parents about this bad experience, he didn't know how to open up and tell them that now his private parts are paining. He he kept going on with the pain quietly until a point where he could not take it anymore. And he
Yeah.
told the parents when they did the tests and the scans, they found out that his testes had been affected. Now they did the surgery, but the thing is, the reports came back, and I think the parents did not take the initiative to ask more questions. They thought the problem had been solved. Years later, this same boy is grown into a man, he gets married, and he's struggling to have children.
And of
When
course,
they
it's the
did the
women.
Yes, at first, of course, they will think it's the woman who has issues, but when they did the test, the woman was okay, and then now they had to do the test on him, which is also something that doesn't come naturally. Men don't usually want to go through those invasive tests, but sometimes they have no option. He went for the test, and they told him that his his private parts cannot function well because of something that might have happened. So now the doctors were probing him to think backwards, just like I did. And when he looked back, I think that's the only vivid memory he carried of what could have caused that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was it, by the way. When they did the background check, the parents now went and picked the old reports to read through. That's when they see that it was actually highlighted that this might cause your son to have issues conceiving. And again, this is a point that I use to inform us or to create awareness that even when you go to the hospitals to do these tests, take time to read the reports. You may not understand the scientific language that they use, but there are some layman English words that they will put there that can trigger you to ask questions.
Yeah.
And when you ask questions, then you will get the answers. So this is not limited to only girls, women. It is both male and female. Yeah.
Yeah. I like how you've shared that. It has brought me back to I think about um 14, 15. I was in senior two, and this happened to me like it only happened once. I had this heavy, like it started out as a very light period, which normally my period was like, it comes in a few days, it's gone. But this time around, the period came. It was very light for the first normal days, and then eventually it became heavy, so
Mm.
heavy, Judith, I became yellow.
Ooh.
I could not walk from here to there. My pad would get full in minutes. And I was at school. And you know how the diet of school is posho, beans.
And then,
I could barely walk. My friends literally had to carry me to like point A to point B.
mm,
And I remember staying at school and, you go to the doctor, I don't remember being in pain. I don't remember having pain, but I
mm,
remember being so weak. And then the period went on for 3 weeks. And
wow.
imagine in those 3 weeks, 2 weeks of them were heavy. In that, end of term, people were collecting pads for me because I had nothing at all. And the pad would get full. I didn't even have the energy to change my own pad. Like my friends would carry, like literally hold me as we are walking to the bathroom. We walk. After like 2 minutes, I sit down. Walk 2 minutes, sit down, because our bathroom was like about 5 minutes walk. It used
Mm,
to feel like 2 hours. And I remember after that, I went back home. Eventually, like the period started to reduce. And eventually it went, but it lasted in total about a month. But the
mm,
2 weeks in the middle were too heavy, and they were clots, like heavy clots, like throughout, like for like 2 weeks. No one has ever explained to me what happened. I went home and the period ended. They would find me, I'm walking from here to there, I'm falling down. They pick me up, they give you juice, spinach. That's it. I turned yellow. And years later, it didn't happen again, but years later at the university, I had all these signs. The doctors would always find protein in my urine, and I just used to feel weak. Like, when you hold my arm, the whole arm would hurt. So I'm at campus, and like these were like the issues that I was experiencing on a normal day. Like
yeah.
this was a normal thing for me. And every time I just used to have, like my immune system, and also I wasn't eating really that well. So I kept going to this doctor, and the doctor was like, "Yeah, let's give you supplement for this." So I'm like, "Can you please check my calcium levels?" And he's like, "Psh, you're 21 years old. What do you want to know about calcium levels?" So my mom told me insist. So we insisted. They did the test, and the man came. A whole doctor of like 100 years. He's like, "Oh, I've never seen this. Your calcium levels are as low as a person in her 80s." And I'm like, and then he goes like, "Okay, so I'm going to give you calcium supplements. I'm going to give you this." Like he was just treating symptoms. So my
Mm,
mom, who is all the way in Europe, by the way, is like, "No, I think there's something like beyond this." So
mm,
they diagnosed me with so many things, and that was after. But this guy just wrote me a whole bill. And eventually a friend at the university, I'm forever grateful to my friend, she was in her third year. She tells me, "Resty, they start researching," because I was like frustrated. I was so tired and sick of all this, everyone telling me you'll be fine. So she
oh,
just goes into her books, and my friend's mom is a nutritionist at the university. So they say these things are all connected. Until I went, my friend told me, "I'm going to connect you to my classmate at Mwana Mujimu in Mulago. Please go." And this young boy, who was still a student, did all the tests and finds out I'm an iron deficiency anemia. That
wow.
was my diagnosis. I had been
Wow.
suffering for my whole life.
Crazy.
And even up to now, I realize that there's so many. I talk to so many people who just simply don't understand that they lack, and like they lack iron in certain areas of their, and even if it's not a heavy period like this one, but during that time, I'm wondering, did anyone advise you to supplement, to take any vitamin D or?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And it didn't help that I was so introverted. Like, the super, super introvert who, if you want them to say something, like you have to just dig it out of that
Yeah.
was so. Even when I would, and I don't think I told my family, the help I was seeking for was outside. I was always seeking from friends, from doctors, but not like telling my mom or my sisters. But my sisters, because they shared a room with me, they knew. that every time I'm having periods, I am in pain.
Yeah.
They could, even when I went through that phase, they could remember those days when I was having pain.
Mm-mm.
So I didn't really have anyone telling me overtake these supplements or get vitamin D. It was not there. I
Yeah.
somehow just survived it. I braved through it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Ah, Judith, I want us to now skip to, because we've talked about how these causes start from as early as young at a young age, and how people should not ignore this, especially parents. You really need to snoop around, because I also didn't tell my mom I got my period. She found out like weeks later, and she was like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "I started like 3 years ago." And you're just finding out now. It
Mm.
kind of becomes a secret for young girls. Maybe young girls now are a little bit more open to it, but at school I remember people being so embarrassed. We just had this thing where like anyone who got into their period, people just wanted to know, like, oh my God, she has started her period. It was this thing that we should all be embarrassed about. And even when you're using your pad, you have to even hide that you're using your pad so it doesn't. I used to like sometimes I'll be like, I don't want anyone to know. Like it took me until secondary school to be comfortable with me having my period. So we've talked about that. Now I want us to talk on the conception part of it. Yeah. I've had Fiona on my podcast and she connected the both of us. And Fiona shared with us her journey, but of course, she didn't share the journey of, because I believe her situation is a little bit different from yours. She did not share on this specific topic, but I feel like this topic now is like a global phenomenon right now because celebrities are talking about it. Only because Lupita Nyong'o has started an organization, now people are actually paying attention to it, and yet there are people who have been doing the work. So, what has that journey been for you when it comes to trying? Because your organization is called Qavah, like Mom's Qavah. What has that journey been for you? What role has faith played in this experience for you?
Wow. I can confidently say that I got to where I am today because of the faith aspect in that journey. You know how you reach a point and you cannot share with your friends because they don't have that problem. Most of my friends around that time had children. So even when I shared with them, they would sympathize, but they wouldn't really understand the problem or how to even help me.
Yeah.
And family, same story. Nobody had struggled like that. The faith aspect of this whole journey is the reason I am here today. I had shared with friends who had children at the time. All my friends, like my close friends, the ones we call inner circle, had children at the time. So even when they sympathized with me, they didn't quite understand how to help me. Same
Yeah.
thing with family. And I struggled through it, not knowing what to share and what not to share.
Yeah.
And then there are questions coming from your friends, but you overlike working, you're so career oriented. When are you having children? Like the pressure started coming in, but it was not at least internal, it was external. And that I could contain because as long as I'm okay, I don't really want to take on the pressure from outside. But again, there's a way it hits on you when these issues started coming, one surgery after the other, one diagnosis after the other. I was also diagnosed with PCOS, which is also a hormonal imbalance kind of diagnosis. It's so attached to it. And they had told me that my eggs, when my eggs are released, they grow, but then they don't mature. So that is also part of the reason why the conception took longer. So for the eggs to mature, they had to give me those boost shots, like they would inject me on the belly so that at least they support them to grow to maturity, to make our chances more. Now, all these things I was just finding out, like, you know how you think of the worst case scenario and then it happens. And then you think of another and then it happens because right from the fibroids, next it was blocked tubes. from block tubes, now they're telling me you have this condition, and then now infection, then now this, like it was just one bad thing after another. And it got me to a point where I no longer wanted to go out. First of all, I wasn't the person that was so outgoing. Now, even the little effort I was putting in to be out there was robbed away from me. And
Yeah.
I would just stay by myself. And you know, when you stay alone, the chances of you thinking positive, they
Like
are
nothing at all.
more. You always think
Your
that,
brain is fighting against you.
yes, yes. So I would stay by myself all the time.
Yeah.
And during day, I was vibrant. I would go to work, smile for the clients, do my work, and then get back home. The moment I open that door, I start crying because I'm sad. I am
Yeah.
so broken. I don't know where to take all this frustration. It was
Yeah.
difficult. But what helped me is, instead of scrolling through to see my diagnosis, I now started looking out for positive stories of infertility,
Mm,
like
mm,
couples who have navigated infertility and have found purpose, or have found children, or have found at least a positive ending of the story. And I
mm.
got a number of them on YouTube. There's this musician, gospel artist in Kenya. She's Wanjiku, Evelyn Wanjiku.
Yeah,
I
I've heard
watched
about her. Yes,
her.
yeah, I've heard about her.
Then I watched a number of many more stories that gave me the positive outlook. My
Mm,
perspective totally changed on how I was going to walk the journey. I started journaling more. I loved journaling, but at that point, I didn't have the energy to pick a pen and a paper.
you don't want to
But
even listen to your emotions.
but
Yeah.
after looking at these people, listening to the stories and watching them blossom, like how they lightened up when things got better, or when they understood their situation better, it also
Mm,
made me reflect and look at it differently. I started journaling my thoughts. Even on bad days, I would like write them down. Maybe I'll share screenshots with you just so people can see the real experience of what this is like. I
mm,
journaled a lot, and I started listening to someone's, like, intentionally. I would
mm.
listen to someone every single
You're
day.
looking for something.
Yeah, I was looking, like, I didn't know who would give me that positivity, but every time I
Yeah.
listened to a word, like, I would catch a sentence and it would take me
Mhm.
through that day. So
That's
that's how
amazing.
I
Yeah.
got like addicted to someone. To date,
Mm,
every day I listen to a someone.
yeah.
That's how I kept going. And it
Mm,
changed how I looked at things. The perspective was different. The experience became lighter because now I could attend my friend's baby shower without feeling jealous, or without
yeah.
feeling that
Yeah.
why me, yeah? And then I became a godmother. Now that godmother experience was so like close to my heart, because this is a friend who I met at work, and they completely understood what I was going through.
Yeah.
This is the
Yeah.
person who actually took a weekend off and paid for a treat. Like, she came, picked me from work, we went, had a nice meal. After the meal, took me to the spa. Nobody had ever thought about doing those things for me.
Yeah.
And I really treasure her, because that day, for the first time in all those years, I slept like a baby. I slept
Yeah.
at 9 and
Yeah.
woke up
Someone has
10.
shared it with you. Yeah.
I had never had that experience.
Mm,
And when she gave me that experience, it just felt like I could actually do this more and be happier.
yeah.
The self care people talk about, that we
Mm,
often
mm,
don't even take serious, it
yeah.
changes everything. It changes
Mm,
everything. Yeah.
yeah. Ah, man, I'm thinking of so many times when a friend tells you they are going through something and you're sending them links and all this advice you're giving them, when all you need to do is just to be there for them and
Yeah.
help them take their mind away, because all the information you're giving them, they already have read it. We all have the same chat GPTs, we have the same AIs, we have the same content. So I think this speaks also to, as a sisterhood,
Mm,
and this is something we can talk about, your community. it's important to find people who are walking the same journey as you. I've heard Cheche here. I don't know if you know Cheche from from the Vessel is Me. She then recommended Fiona, who has then recommended you,
Oh,
and
wow.
all of them
Check.
have shared the same story of how when they found community, or they became the community, because they felt like, you know what, if nobody's gonna do this, let me be the humble sacrifice that someone does that. You can give us some stories. I would like for you to share about how the conception journey came for you, because I feel like that gives some hope to another woman out there who is listening, for them not only take the bad part of your story. Okay, yes, you found peace and joy, but we want to know, did you finally at least work out? Because at least that's something that, as someone who is struggling, I want to know, like, is there hope for me as a person, so that I can say, man, Judith said that one thing. In everything she said, I just remember she got the baby. That's all I want to hear. And then also we can think about how community has been there for you, because that is community from people who are not experiencing it. But what has community meant for the people who get to know what it is that you're going through? What has it done for you, your overall like being as a person? Yeah.
Wow. Wow, the positive outlook. My journey ended in praise. It ended. Has it even ended? It hasn't, but
Still
yeah,
going.
we got to the praise. We got to the praise, and after those surgeries that have shared and the treatments back and forth, there was a point where I did the surgery for correcting the tubes. And even after that surgery, when they did the HSG scan, they told me that the tube is still blocked. But at least one was partially open. Hmm? The two were blocked, but when they did the correction, one was partially open, one was blocked completely. That's the point when the doctor told me that, Judith, as doctors, we do everything to make this possible, but it's not in our mandate, or it's not in our control for you to conceive. Who does that is God. And he told me there are reasons why God has given us our body parts in pairs. God bless his soul. He passed last year.
Oh, sorry.
He said that the reason that we have our body parts in pairs is because when one fails, the other can support. When your one arm is not there, your one arm can support. When the leg, the ovary, like look at your body part and see any part that is in pairs. If one is
The
not
heart.
working,
And then,
one
yeah,
is
it's
not
just
working,
the heart.
the other yes, the other one will support. And rest, I cannot tell you how comforting that was for me, because I'd reached a point where I was tired of this treatment. I was exhausted, and I'd reached where I was saying enough is enough. Let me focus on my master's. After all, I'm doing my master's. Let me focus on my studies, and we shall see about this later. Now he told me, let's give it more 6 months. If the treatment doesn't work, then we keep trying and look out for other options. Now at that point, we had tried everything they had recommended. And he told me, now we have to start looking at the direction of IVF. And having gone through all this, I was just praying to God. I'm like, God, at least I've gone through the biggest pain. Let me not have the child in another painful process. Or if that's the process, then make provision for it. Because the money they charge is a lot. And we had spent so much money already. I'm like, where are all these millions going to come from? So when they told us about the IVF, they checked my partner, because at this point now they were going to check him to find out if he also has a problem. I told doctor, it's okay, let's go back and think about it. Now, as they were prepping us, giving us information on what we need to do the IVF, I had stopped doing the treatment because I was tired. But it was after one cycle that It just came. You know, you never stop thinking about it. Even when people tell you, relax, it will come when God's timing. It's not
And
it.
you can't every month. What is going on? Counting
Remember,
days.
every negative test will treat you completely different. It will shatter you differently. Like you will never get used to having a negative test.
Mm-mm, never.
That was my experience. Like every negative test was just shattering. Now it has failed again. Another cycle, it has failed. But thankfully, I don't know if it was the whisper of the Holy Spirit or what. I remember that cycle, I called doctor and told him to recommend for me the prescription. I went to the pharmacy, had the treatment for that month. And then, you know, it's very awkward because at this point you're not having sex for pleasure. It's more of timetable, like you are hitting a goal.
This is the
And so
time.
that one of my clients told me, how did you even go through this? Like, what is this? It's exhausting.
It's
It's just
exhausting. Yeah,
everything
it
annoying.
is. It's
But
exhausting. It takes away
because
the exactly
the
the
back of your
enjoyment. Yeah.
mind that you
Yeah.
want this baby, you do everything possible in your control. I
Mm.
went to the pharmacy, got the medication, took the medication for that cycle, and we tried.
So
Now,
this
when
medication was to help with your hormones. What does it
the
help with exactly?
hormones and boost the egg quality,
Quality. Ah, okay, okay, okay. Mm-hmm.
see the shots, and then the hormones. There were those progesterones that I
Yeah,
needed
yeah.
to start every
Mm-hmm.
morning and evening.
Yes.
Folic acid, like there were medications that I had to take to
Yeah.
support body, and I did take them like diligently. I
My
took them.
dear, it can be a religious movement.
You take it because if they tell you that's going to increase your
That's
chances,
your own.
you
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it.
Mm,
So I took the medication and tried out that cycle. Now that 2 weeks wait can be the longest. Like, so there was also another issue that I had because of the hormonal imbalance. I would
mm,
not ovulate. Like you would bleed, but there would be no ovulation. So if you don't ovulate, obviously there is no conception going to happen. That's why I
yeah.
had to get all this support and try to make sure
Mm,
it happened. Now I bought ovulation test kits. Those are things I had never thought about. Like I had never thought I would be there and tracking my ovulation because you see people conceive naturally, you think it's automatic. I would
mm,
check the ovulation and see, if it's 2 lines now, you know this is the window now.
yeah.
And after the 2 weeks wait, I check and it's a negative pregnancy test. Mind you, before that test, like before that cycle, I'd gone for a prayer session, deliverance prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And the priest had specifically stood in front of me and prayed and told me, he actually said, if I come and stand before you, it's because the Holy Spirit has led me to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
whatever I'm going to say, it's not me speaking, it's the Holy Spirit. So take it and believe it and pray for it. He stood before me and told me, you are healed, receive your healing. Rest is the joy I went with back home. Whoever I did not call to tell them that I'm healed, I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe they were not in my close circle.
Yeah.
I was so excited. I was like, finally, God has heard me.
Mm,
So that cycle, before that cycle, the one I did was a negative, and yet the priest had just confirmed to me. So I was like, again. But something pushed me to do that cycle, the next one, which I'm telling you about, that the 2 weeks I checked and it was negative.
mm,
Much later, I took another test like after 4 weeks
mm-hmm.
and it was still negative. Because I knew my cycle wasn't the normal, I was like, maybe the ovulation happened later.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
checked and negative. So this one day I'm at work. It's a very hot afternoon. I am craving very cold water. And I told my colleague, I want to drink cold water. But we had closed the bank. So she said, let's walk to Capital Shoppers. We buy some cold water and whatever you want to buy. I bought is it a 1.5 liter? That car big Renzori bottle. Cold.
Mm,
And I took the water like crazy. I was like, this is not me. Like, I don't usually like very cold water. I like lukewarm water. What is happening? I was in a taxi, but the whole time I'm thinking, what just happened? Like, could it be that I'm pregnant? Could it be that I'm not? I got out of the taxi, ran to the pharmacy, and bought pregnancy testing kits. There were 6 of them. And I went back
In case
home.
the first one doesn't get the memo.
I got Mica glass jar. I had Mica small glass jar where I would put my samples. And I put the urine sample and I dipped the stick and ran away because I didn't want to see. I was alone meanwhile. I didn't want to see what the results looked like. But something told me peep and see. So I dipped and put it down. When I put it down, after a few seconds, I see 2 lines. Like I was
That is
screaming.
a kind of
What
praise
to-
that no one can understand.
I was crying, laughing, all at the same time. Like I didn't know what.
Wow.
And then I was like, no, maybe this one is a false positive. Let me dip all these other 5
There's no
in
fault.
positive. Then that's it. I dipped all the 5. Before I could even look there, 2 stripes. Two. I was
Wow.
like, what just happened?
Mm,
I immediately took screenshots and sent to the doctor. And then the doctor said, congratulations. He was also
yeah.
happy because he didn't expect it to happen
Yeah.
naturally, and now it has happened. But then he made one statement that just took away the excitement. He told me, since the tube was partially blocked, let's be calm. Let's be calm about this positive test so that you're not shattered when it's not a viable pregnancy. Let's wait for about 6 weeks. Then we have our first scan to confirm that the baby is in the right position, that everything is okay. My goodness, I waited. Those weeks felt like years. They were not ending. But eventually the time came and I went to the hospital, did the scan, the heartbeat was clear, the baby was in the right position, everything was perfect. Like God perfected it in His
Yeah.
own timing. And the
Wow.
pregnancy was high risk, but we managed it. We managed it up until 37 weeks, and I had the C-section, and we had the
That's a
beautiful.
long
Oh,
one, yeah? 'Cause some people even hurry up and get it out quickly. 37 is very close. That's like just 3 weeks before. Wow,
yeah.
Judith, that gives me so much joy to hear. I remember that day when I got a positive test. So I
Mm.
can't imagine how that positive test means if you've gone through people telling you this might never happen to you. It must feel completely different.
It's a mix of emotions. Like you're happy, but again you're scared. You don't know if it's really
Yeah, you're not
to
sure.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mix of emotions, but the joy is still there. You can't help but be happy that at least people would be like people would pray dangerous prayers of at least God give me at least a positive pregnancy test. If
Yeah. Oh no,
I know
that's not
that
enough.
I can go at any one point I was able to get pregnant, I was so cautious not to make those dangerous prayers because it can turn out to be your reality. They say that the tongue has the power to speak life or death. So I was very cautious on what I said during my prayer time. But the crazy things that I did away from journaling, you stand in front of a mirror, you buy a maternity dress and put stuff things in your belly,
Walk the
pray,
miracle. And what's that thing says? What's that guy?
and do the challenge.
Hallelujah challenge.
So by then I didn't even know it was there, but it's just some weird thought that comes to you and you just want to have
It
this.
helps you. I think it's like a mentor. It trains your mind to be positive. And I think
Yes.
from what I've learned from getting pregnant, the mental state also affects the pregnancy, because then it affects your, the hormones that are supposed to help you. So many people don't think about that. I think that's why also many people get, they get miscarriages, because they are going through like a really hard time, because
Yeah.
your body is already having it, and then it's telling you, no, we can't carry this pregnancy. So I think that was a very good experience, and that was a good decision to just imagine yourself with your big belly.
Yeah, I even bought baby suits. Like I bought baby suits. So every night I would be going to sleep. I would get those baby suits and make prayers and declarations. My daughter,
Wow.
it's funny how I used to pray for a daughter and God exactly gave me a daughter. I had even named
Wow.
her Jasmine before because
Mm,
I named her Jasmine because I fell in love with flowers and
mhm.
the journey that the flower takes to become beautiful. By the time we are admiring the flower, we
It
do
has
not
gone through
know
so
the
much.
journey it
Yeah.
has walked. Yeah, so it was just
Yeah.
amazing. It was
Wow. So
amazing.
that it gives me so much joy to know that you had that experience, and I know you probably have many more experiences. Blessings to
Yeah.
God. And I was telling somebody the other day, like, now at our age, nobody sits down and saying, "Hey, was your mom 40 when she had," like, nobody cares how the pregnancy came. You're here. So
Hi.
eventually the kids will grow up, and they will not sit down and ask, "Oh, mommy was going through no, you had the baby, and that's all that matters, whether it was through IVF, whether you waited 20 years, whether you waited. At the end of the day, you had the baby, and that child is going to grow up and become like, give birth, and you have like generations of children,
From
and
God.
no one will talk about what you went through to get that baby." So now I now understand, as a mom, I now understand why moms are very protective over their children. They're obsessive. There's a lady we met when I just moved here. Her child was like, I don't know, she had just had a baby. The lady was in her 40s.
Yeah.
This woman wouldn't let anybody hold her child. Like, everyone was like, "Yeah, that's a child of old age." But now that I'm older, I'm thinking probably this chick had paid a lot of money to get this pregnancy. She was
You're
obsessed with her
protecting
kid.
treasure. You're
Yes.
protecting
She
treasure.
couldn't let the kid even sit. Like, she was holding her and breastfeeding her the whole time. And people were just, these younger people were just saying, "Oh, this woman, she just needs to let go." She couldn't even let you hold her child, because she knew what she went through to get that baby. So, guys, sometimes you just have to let people be when they don't want you to touch their children. Okay, so Judith, I would like us to talk about community, because this is something that I really feel strongly about.
Mm.
What has community meant for you? Or maybe you can also talk about your people, like some of the people you've had in the group as a case study or example. What has community meant for them? What has your community brought to them? What has it done for you as the leader?
Wow. That's such a brilliant question. The community is everything. It's everything because while walking my journey, I didn't have a community. I tried to look around for communities, Facebook, Instagram, like you try to plug somewhere where at least one person will understand and you don't get it. It frustrated me a lot. Every time I would sit in a queue waiting for the specialist, we would be like so many. Some come
The
as
queue is
couples,
so
some
big.
as individuals. We would be so many waiting for this fertility doctor to come, and none of us would be smiling. The best people would do, they would be scrolling the phone, reading a book, or just there glooming. And in my head, I thought, but there should be someone like a go
We need each
between.
other.
There should be a go between who helps us who are waiting feel lighter so that by the time we walk into the doctor's room, we are ready to receive whatever is good. You know how you walk into the hospital and they give you these heartbreaking results, but when you walk out, you are on your own. Nobody cares how you're going to get home, whether you're
Yeah.
going to stand in the road and get knocked because of the devastating. Nobody cares about that. So that was a light bulb moment for me. Already when I was going through my journey, I saw that as a gap. And I knew that even when I ran away from it so much, there will be a point in time when I will have to do that.
Yeah.
So when I thought about it, I I was like, since I have had, because in my journals, I wrote things like, God, help me discover my purpose through this pain, help me find my calling, like, show me why I have had to go through all this pain. And now God started bringing convictions through sermons, like everything would come so crystal clear. Now, the time when I actually decided to start was when I listened to a sermon titled Courage to Change Course. It was a sermon by T.D. Jakes, Bishop T.D. Jakes.
I was about
And
to ask, is it TD Jakes or Stephen Pratik?
yes, and in that preaching, he was talking about Moses' story, how he was supposed to be killed, but then God had a purpose on his life and he was put into the river and got on the other side. Like everything just started making sense for me. And then went ahead and shared how Moses struggled with speech, like how to articulate words. And that was me. Like the reason I was delaying doing this was because it doesn't come natural to me. Like this is not something I want to do. It's going to push me out in the public. I love my private time and my private moments. But when I listened to that sermon, and then he kept mentioning that 8 is a number of new beginnings. When I checked the calendar, it was 8th of February. I was like, there is no way this is a coincidence because it wasn't a sermon of that year. It was a sermon of years back, but it just came in my feed. And I was like, this is the Holy Spirit whispering what I should do. So that's when I called up the other friend that I told you about. When the name dropped in my mind, Mom's in Waiting, I called her and we came up with Mom's Qavah. And then I started building the community, not for me, but for the people who are walking the journey. And also for me, because I'm still on the journey of healing. I created the community. We started with a LinkedIn audio event. I contacted a friend of mine. God bless her. She was my fertility nurse at one point. She's called Letitia, Mrs. Owere. She loves being called Mrs. Owere because she is a newlywed.
Yeah.
And she immediately understood the vision that I carry. And so we started collaborating. Every event that we have, we co-host it with her because she understands where we are going as Mom's Qavah. And she also does fertility coaching for other people. She's also part of the Mom's Qavah community. So we started walking this journey and people would log in and listen and ask questions. But then on LinkedIn, the audio event was removed. So that option was no longer there. I thought about it and said, this must continue. It shouldn't stop because this has stopped. That's when I thought of a WhatsApp community group and I created the WhatsApp community group. Now we are about 30 people. 30, yeah. I created the WhatsApp group. Some people are part of the community, but not in the group because, again, it's 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 up to them
Sensitive.
to choose. Some of them prefer to be supported outside of social media. They don't want to appear anywhere because someone spot them that they are going through this and stigmatize them. So I'm okay with people who don't want to be part of the WhatsApp group, but are willing to be part of the community outside online. We started the community. I remember one of the ladies reached out through Google. She just told me she went on Google and searched for fertility coach African. Like she was in the US, married there, but she's a Ugandan, but was struggling to conceive, had a miscarriage, and they were having issues with their fertility journey. Even the man had his side of the struggle. So she just wanted someone who understands to walk her through the journey. And my name popped up, like,
Wow.
yes. And remember, I had just started sharing my story then. That was in 2024. I was just figuring out how I'm going to do this, how, like,
Yeah.
so that was God's way of confirming to me that you're on the right path. I
Yeah.
will guide you, like, I will order your steps. She reached out and we had a chat. She told me her story, very painful story. And immediately it felt like we had known each other for forever. She trusted me to walk the journey with her and actually made payments for the coaching sessions. We had a few coaching sessions and guided her through what to do, like emotionally, lifestyle wise, what you're going to eat, your sleep patterns, the basic things. And she implemented them. Guess what? 6 months into our coaching session, she tells me she's pregnant. They did an
Wow.
eye, and
That
it was
can be so satisfying.
oh goodness, like that was the best news ever. Now that wasn't the first. The very first was the one I did pro bono when I was still in my job. I was just supporting because people knew I had gone through it, so they would recommend their friends. And this lady, I took her through the journey. She went and had the surgery, they corrected her tubes, and a few months in, she conceived. Now, she carried the pregnancy up to 7 months, is when she found out she was carrying twins. Like, she didn't know she was carrying twins.
What?
At 7 months is when she found out she was carrying twins. Like, those were the calls
Wow.
God kept giving me that you are on the right
Yeah,
track.
yeah.
And
Wow.
this, we have had many testimonies. In a span of just 2 years, we've had over like 20 positive pregnancy announcements and babies that are there to show for it. As moms cover, we believe that hope is alive. And it can only be alive if we share these stories.
True,
Someone
true.
hope can be brought to life if they hear that, oh, this person went through the worst, but they still got there. So we've had a number of testimonies. I just shared a testimony this week. One of the people that was part of the Moms Cover meetup. We do quarterly meetups, sometimes online, sometimes physical. So last year in September, we had a physical one. And I remember our sanitary officer at the bank was struggling. She was always having miscarriages and just struggling. You don't have the money to even go for these treatments. So that time when I was organizing the meetup, a friend of mine sent me money, but then it was redundant. Like I had cleared almost everything because it wasn't going to be a meetup of very many people. And I was like, this money can do something for somebody. Because this woman was always there for me in office when I was down, when I was feeling not okay, she would always try, like among everybody, she would be the one who cares most about how I
Extra.
feel. So in that moment, her face flashed in my mind. And I was like, why didn't I let me call this lady to be part of this meetup? First of all, she'll get an opportunity to meet this fertility doctor who is coming, the fertility nurse, and ask the counselors who are there to support the women who are going through the most. And she will know that she's not alone. She comes through for the meetup. And interestingly, she came with all her paperwork, like the reports of the previous scans. I did not tell her that. Like,
My
I think
dear,
it was
you have to give it your all. You never know.
her instinct. She just came with her results, and I introduced her to the doctor and the nurse, who is Letitia, and they talked through it. They guided her. She left the room so happy. I don't know. I can't explain. At first, she wasn't like blending in because, you're feeling like, hey, these people. But later on, as we continued the conversation, she blended in and started sharing her experiences. It was an amazing experience. I think we were only 8 women. And again, like I said, eight. Since they told me eight is a number of new beginnings, I loved it because I was like, this must be God's way of doing this. She left the room early because she had to go back home early. I had requested the husband to allow her be there till late. And when it clocked 8 p.m., she was like, no, he will start now thinking I went elsewhere. I'm like, it's okay, you can go. We can proceed from here. Whatever you've missed, I'll let you know. And she left. A few days after the meetup, she calls me and she told me because of the information she received in the room, she felt like she should take a pregnancy test. And she did. And she sent me a positive pregnancy test.
Wow.
So this week she delivered her baby girl.
Oh, congratulations to
And
her.
now
So
such
sweet.
things have just confirmed to me that the community is everything. Like I might not
Mm.
be able to pay her hospital bills, do so many of the things that she
But
needs.
hope, yeah.
That that simple act of kindness, it
Yeah.
takes a long way. It changed her story. I know
Yeah.
that right now she's so grateful because she was in
Yeah.
that room that day.
Yeah.
Because when we found out she was pregnant, everyone was interested in walking the journey with her. The doctors were supporting her with these treatments that she may not have got had she not been in the room. They were supporting her with the scans just so that first trimester is like
Strong. Yeah.
smooth
Yeah.
for her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such things that just solidify the reason to have
Yeah.
communities. And we've
Yeah.
had a number of babies. Last year we received two babies, and
Wow.
we're believing for more. We are believing
Hmm.
for more.
Yeah,
And
they're
sometimes
coming.
the end
They're
goal is
coming.
not to have a child. In the
Mm.
community, the end goal is not to have a child. Yes, you may have a child, but as you walk along this journey, we want you to grow outside of these negative emotions. So we support you. We want you to grow in your career, in the space where you are, so
Yeah.
that you are like any other person who is pursuing purpose and life. You're not just
Yeah.
focused on having a child. Yes, it's a good thing to have a child, but as you wait for the child, what are you doing with your life that will lead you closer to that end goal
True.
that you want? So that is what the
Oh,
community
that's
is about.
that's so encouraging. It's so encouraging. And ladies, if you're listening to this, and we have kept the best part for the almost close the end of the episode, but I hope you get to listen to the end. Just to let you know, Judith's community is on the She Center platform. You just have to go look for She Space on the homepage, click into it, and you'll find Mom's Qavah there. I'm going to put the link in the description. Please join the community if you are waiting. As you have said, the waiting is not for pregnancy, it's for whatever it is that you're waiting for in life. You find a community, you never really know. And as we conclude, there's something that you said that's very important. When we walk the journey alone, this is what I believe. When you are struggling alone, you might have all the answers from the internet and all the brochures because you want not to keep your things a secret, like not to be vulnerable enough to come out and say, guys, I need help. You will miss out on this extra information that's very important because one person's journey might be that a duplicate or a replica of exactly what you're going through, and hearing what they did could just be what you need. So many times people, I think the goal is to get pregnant. As you said, that positive test is not, it's not the end. The end is to have a healthy baby. So when you find someone like Judith and people in her community who have gone through it, they're able to tell you, like how your doctor told you, let us hope that this other part comes in. So you need extra, because I know what's that hormone called? HGC, right? Oh God, I'm a mom too. HGC, I know that it can ruin the pregnancy for it not to hold in the first trimester. And unfortunately, many people just stop there, and you find yourself going through this over and over again. But you might actually find that communities of people who have experts and who have gone through it are able to guide you and tell you, this is what you need to do when you've gotten the pregnancy test, not just to stay home and just hope for the next, to get a big belly, but to know that there is so much more that happens in between. I know those 6 weeks, yes, you find out you're pregnant at 4 weeks, but Jesus, those last 2 weeks, mama, my mom was telling me, don't work out. I said, please get out of my head. People are like, don't tell anyone you're pregnant. You might lose the baby in the first trimester. Don't walk. Don't do this. Like, there's so much negative energy. As soon as you get pregnant, everybody's telling you their experience of how they got a miscarriage or what. But it's not your story. However, it's good to be cautious to know, are you on the right track, especially if you have struggled to get the baby before. Because in many cases, if you've been having normal pregnancy, normal cycles, it's, the chances are very low. But if you've had all these challenges that we have talked, that Judith has shared about here, then the chances are that you really need support after that. And that support exists, guys. I believe that when someone has taken on the role of coaching people, she's an expert in it because she's not telling you from someone's experience, she's telling you from her own experience. And secondly, she has built a network of people who can support you so that you don't have to go and pay specialists in 100 hospitals who are not telling you what you need. Before we end, I feel so strongly to share this because I remember Fiona shared, she went to the waiting room. You mentioned something about the waiting room. That waiting room has, if in a someone perspective, I'm also obsessed with someones. I even have a blog called My Favorite Someones. So in a someone perspective, that waiting room can mean a lot. But in that waiting room, she said she went there and she was seated there and everyone was quiet because, of thinking, what am I going through? And she said, I think someone started a conversation with her, or she just was pulled to speak to somebody. And when she talked to that somebody, eventually she found out that this person had been to some doctors and they had ruined her opportunities of conceiving because they kept doing the wrong procedures on her. And she was able to help that person and guide them to the doctor who had helped her. And yes, by the time she got there, they told her, oh, yes, the doctors that you've been going through have not been doing the right thing, but we can help you. So it's also to speak to any woman out there. That waiting room is the source of all your future joy and information. If you find yourself in a waiting room where you're waiting either to get an IVF, you're waiting to get checked if you have fibroids, make friends, guys. You don't have to even join Judith's community. Just say hi. Be the bold one to say, hi, guys, how are you? Because that person right next to you might just be the person who has all the answers to your problems because they have been ahead of you. So don't be shy. Don't keep yourself in your room and hide and be embarrassed. This thing is not even something to be embarrassed about. We want children. So don't be shy. Don't be embarrassed. I think at this point, it's nothing to be embarrassed about because really it's not your fault. It's nature's way of telling you you're not in control here, but at the end of the day, you can find solutions and help. So, Judith, I would like you to speak to a woman out there who she's probably just found out that she has fibroids. She has probably gone through all the operations. The lady I was listening to today was saying every operation they do, they take something from you that affects your how do they call it, like your immunity. Is it her intestines or something? She said every operation they did, something bad was happening to her. And then there's this whole genetics in play that she found out later that was affecting her. The scar tissue was more on her case. So I know that there are people who are just really tired. They're tired. At some point, you just say, I don't want kids anymore. God, I just want to be fine. Like, I just want to not be in pain. So please speak to any woman based on what you've been through. And encourage them as we finalize so that they can also like sum up what you've just said in just a few minutes. Yeah.
Well, I can resonate with the lady that had the scar issue because that is the issue that I had. Like the scar tissues from the previous surgery caused the blockage of the tube. So I can understand that it keeps as if you do this thinking it's a solution, it brings another problem. But to encourage a woman out there who is in the wait or who has just found out this very heartbreaking news, is that God cannot give you a mountain that you cannot move. Like He has given you that mountain to show others the way, to show them that, yes, this can happen, but you'll get over it. Like He will move that mountain for you. He will move it through you so that others can see that, oh, Judith went through all this, but finally she had a child. And moreover, naturally. And it didn't have to be naturally. Oh, I'm not saying it should be natural. Your journey could be different and it's an IVF, but the end goal is the gift that He blesses you with. And for some women, it might not even be that you've given birth like from your womb. It could be that you've birthed a community that is supporting other people. It could be that you've birthed an idea that has changed system in the hospitals. It could be that you birth, like so many things that God can do through you as you navigate this difficult journey to parenthood. And I've also learned that parenthood has no linear progression to it. Like there are some people who will conceive in an instinct. There's some who will struggle through year after year and they're not conceiving. It's different for everybody. But the major thing is what your heart carries as you walk that journey. Are you absorbing all the negativity and containing it? Or are you absorbing it and finding ways you know how you squeeze a sponge and remove everything and just let it be dry so that it's more sophisticated and bouncy.
Yeah.
That's the I feel you should carry on this journey. This is not here to kill you. It's probably to bring out the greatness that you carry in you that you have never ever thought about. In my case, my voice, I got back my voice through sharing my infertility story. I've shared with people how shy, how introverted I was, but sharing my story has built confidence for me. It has
Yeah.
built, like I've sat on panels, I've had podcast interviews and
Yeah.
conversations that I would have never had I not walked this journey. So that journey is difficult, it's painful, but it is shaping you to who you're becoming or who God actually intended for you to be. We have settled for less because we don't know any better. But today, look deeper in your journey. That diagnosis is not the end of it. That diagnosis is the beginning of the journey of your
Yeah.
becoming. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Judith. That is indeed a very great way to end. Judith has said something I keep turning over, and that is our bodies always communicate when something is wrong, and that enduring pain is not part of. It's not a badge of honor. Like you're not supposed to go out there and struggle with the pain that you're going through and not seek the support that is needed. So I think about how many women across East Africa are sitting with that same quiet weight right now. And I'm grateful that there was a woman, there are women like Judith and Fiona and Cheche from Vessel Is Me who have turned their own pain into a place where others don't have to walk alone. So Mom's Qavah is live on She Center. You just have to go to She Space on the homepage and go to the tribes. And if you are on a fertility journey, if you've been there or if you just know someone who is struggling, yeah, go find that community. Head to She Center, find Mom's Qavah, and you'll be able to find Judith and her community. And her contact details are there, guys. That for me, my goal is to bring for you community support, information, and resources, and connect you to the people who are able to, the services that are necessary. This is why She Center exists. It's not just a concept, but it's a place where real women find each other. We find each other, and through Fiona, who was a previous guest in the last season, I met Judith, and it has been an amazing experience because I am happy to know that there are people who are doing this work out there because I'm not alone. And when we come together, we do this work. So thank you guys for listening. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who needs it. This information was too much. I cannot wait for it to come out because I can think of so many people who I want to share this episode with. So please follow, leave a review, and come to the She Center platform to find many more services that you can receive from people. You have been listening to She Center, and Judith is going to continue giving us this information. Guys, I'm here to help you empty Judith's head and bring all the information. We started a co-creators, a She Creators initiative where we are trying to particularly, we asked anyone to reach out to us, but I also have a specific group of people who I follow on social media who I see are doing amazing work, and my goal is to reach out to them because I might have a different number of people following me, and Judith has a different number of people who I might be able to reach. So together we are able to reach If you reach 10, I reach 10, at least we have 20 or more than 20. And that's what social media should be for, because at the end of the day, let us put that in front of everyone. And that requires us to collaborate. So I know that this is going to be an amazing episode. I know that it's going to bring change and impact. And I greatly know, Judith, that your impact is beyond East Africa. It's beyond Africa. It's beyond the world, maybe even in space. It's beyond, because what you are doing is timely, it's necessary, and this is the time for women to come up and speak on these issues, man. We have suffered for so long. Sometimes the men who are telling us that this is normal, they have never had periods, and they're telling us it's normal. You do know what a period means? Like, do you know what it means to have cramps? And you're telling me it's normal. Guys, I repeat this, and I think Judith, we need to make a carousel for this. No period pain, please. If you have pain, there is a red flag. There is a red flag. The pain should not be like, you should be able to go through your day and not go through what Judith went through when she was suffering. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you once again next week. Please help me spread the word by sharing our episodes with your friends, family, and followers. Let's amplify the voices of women, break barriers, challenge stereotypes, and create a network of support and empowerment. Together, we can bring about positive change and make this world a better place for all. This is She Center, the female podcast, where women's stories matter. I love you all. God bless.